Because Spotify has essentially replaced radio, or is really in the process of doing that, understanding about the Spotify algorithm, how to get on playlists, how long people will stay and listen to your music, all of this becomes absolutely essential to not just kind of building your own career, but it ends up becoming important when you're trying to do things like get show bookings, or if you're interested in getting signed by a label, or you're talking to a particular agent. All of these things come into play. So, because Spotify is such an important platform for musicians, we're dedicating this video to discussing the Spotify algorithm. Now, looking at the analytics for each one of your platforms is going to be something you gotta do. You gotta do on a regular basis, in fact, because your analytics of what's actually happening on your content is way more important than the facial kind of likes, comments. It's really the back end stuff that's the most important. The same thing goes for Spotify. So if you haven't registered already, you want to make sure that you register your Spotify for Artists account. This is a free registration process, and it opens up just a monumental amount of analytics having to do with your particular Spotify channel. When you are in your Spotify for Artists, regardless of what your channel looks like right now, how your music is performing on Spotify, make sure you take note, because really it's just a moment in time and things will change. Ideally, things get better and you'll get more viewership, but nonetheless, take kind of a mental note or kind of write it down, that's what I do anyway, of where you're kind of sitting today. You're going to look at things not just on kind of the global scale of what songs are performing well, but you can kind of deep dive into specific songs. And so you can see where that song is being played, in what geographic areas, who's adding your song to their playlists, how many playlists have you been added to. And the reason all of this is going to become important is we're going to discuss what this actually means and how it impacts your Spotify algorithm. I have to at least make the note right up front. For anyone who is just maybe a little frustrated with kind of the growth factor, and maybe you're not kind of reaching the numbers that you want as quickly, please, please, please do not go and buy fake streams. The reason why you don't want to do that beyond anything else is that it's going to negatively impact your Spotify algorithm. Because what happens is that when you buy fake streams, not only can you actually tell because you can see it now in the channel analytics, but Spotify doesn't know what to do with all of that information because it will be coming in bulk orders from these unknown territories. And so Spotify then interprets the information and kind of crushes your algorithm. So it's no longer going to be pushing out your song to other organic listeners who might be interested in your type of music, and so it really, really hurts you in a very bad way. So let's focus on the ways to actually organically get your viewership, get your listeners up as much as possible so that you can do it the right way, and it will be a long-term investment that is hugely beneficial for your music career. I don't know about you guys, but I don't really follow too many artists on Spotify, but this is something and one of several things that you're going to want to do to help get your Spotify algorithm up. So the first will be, of course, promote to your existing fan base and say, hey guys, please go and actually follow on Spotify. There really are benefits for the fans because then they get notified when you have new songs released. It gets automatically added to their different playlists. And so this is something that is, in the long term, a good thing for your fans, but it's also good for your Spotify algorithm. The more people that you have following you, the more that it seems that there's a real interest in you. So now Spotify is going to be paying attention. Spotify is also looking at the kind of traffic that you're driving to its platform, which I kind of thought was strange when I found out about this, but it will look at things like how many of your listeners came from Instagram, how many listeners came from Facebook. And so once again, it's through the analytics telling Spotify that you must be someone of interest, your fans really support you, and so therefore Spotify needs to pay special attention to you. So anytime that you can be promoting on your various social media accounts and pushing people specifically to Spotify, those analytics are tracked. So even if it's something you put on the calendar, I'm going to promote, let's say once a month. Obviously we all have a million things we're trying to promote and different platforms we're trying to grow, but really make Spotify a top priority. More importantly, though, than how many people are actually following you has to do with the actual engagement on your music. So let's say you have a brand new song that you just released. What happens initially is that Spotify, again, is looking at all those things, the follows, how many people are getting pushed from other platforms to your Spotify account, but more importantly, it's looking at how long someone actually stays on the song Do they bail out in 10 seconds, or do they stay through the entire song and maybe even replay it a bunch of times? Obviously, the longer that someone stays on the song, the better, and it's going to also look at the adds to personal playlists. So when someone actually adds your song to their personal playlist, this does wonders. And so for looking at, we talked about Spotify for artists, this is where you actually can see how many people and exactly who added you and where in the world. So the more streams that you can get, keeping people on the song as long as possible, but also getting your fan base to add the music to the actual playlist are all gonna help in a significant way getting your Spotify algorithm up. We used the example of you just have a new song. The reason I use that example is because you also have to think about the life cycle. It actually takes about 8 weeks for Spotify to kind of internalize and ingest all of this information. And what it will do is that if you are performing well, people are adding your song to their playlist, they're staying on, they're sharing it, they're coming from different platforms. Well, Spotify wants its users to stay on its platform. And so if it thinks that maybe, Sheila in, Texas wants to hear your song, Spotify's going to start pushing and recommending the song. And so this is how you end up getting on Discover Weekly playlists, on Spotify playlists, because it, again, is all algorithm driven. And even for one of my clients, I think it was his 3rd single release, and he ended up having one of these viral, crazy worldwide sensations that happened on Spotify. But it didn't just happen one time. It happened at the initial release of the song, but it happened again about 2 to 3 months down the road. And it had a whole new, I think another 20 million people that went and listened to that song. And it, again, was because Spotify was pushing it out and adding it to all these different playlists. So that's an example of when the algorithm really works for you. And obviously the reason I'm mentioning the 8 weeks point is also be patient. If you're not getting the numbers right away, and even if it ends up being something where it's not even this particular single, really just being true and honoring the process that you have to go through. This is hard work. Everyone has to go through the same steps. And the reason why you're going to be different and you're going to push through is because you're not going to give up. You are going to exercise that patience and that commitment to make sure that your music performs well. Your pro tip for this video has to do with pre-saving. There's a platform that I personally use called Feature.fm. I know there's quite a few out in the world, but this is the one that I use and it was free. But essentially you can just set up a link so that fans can pre-save the song. And the benefit really is that now as soon as the song drops, they're going to be able to listen to it. And again, get those numbers up of how many streams that you got right when the song was released, how many times it was replayed, and of course, was it added to personal playlists. And as you are continuing to promote your song, continue to do so even several months after the release. Be regularly posting, be pushing your fan base to Spotify to follow you, to listen to the music, because it's an investment not just for that one song, but it's for the entirety of your career. So if it doesn't necessarily blow things out of the park on that first release, the second time, the EP, the album, just keep going because you are building that goodwill and, again, strengthening your Spotify algorithm. Don't forget to come and say hi on social media because why not? I'm the most active on Instagram and it's been amazing meeting you guys, so don't forget to check in and say hello. We release videos just like this, once a week to help you with your music careers and getting you to the next level. Obviously, we're talking about things like music marketing, but we also get into the law stuff like trademarks and copyright and really everything in between. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, turn on that bell notification so that you get notified every time you have a new video from your favorite redhead. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you guys on the next one. I'm Miss Krystle. Bye.